How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the Vinyl Brotherhood. As you can see, we're not at our usual location. We thought it'd be a good idea to come outside, enjoy the fresh air, maybe touch some grass. It's actually something we've been wanting to do for a good while. And we thought to ourselves, if not for Opeth, then who? Which better band than Opeth? Now, I usually start most metal album reviews with a disclaimer. I'm an outsider to the genre. I'm not a diehard Opeth fan, not even a casual listener really, but I do love a good metal album from time to time. So I think that time is today because we are gonna review the new Opeth album titled The Last Will and Testament, their 14th album, and it's a really interesting one with a lot going for it. For starters, it's a concept record, so I'm looking forward to seeing how they incorporate like the story and the setting into their sound. So we've got a little sample we're gonna listen to just so you know what we're working with. And in the meanwhile, you can maybe get comfortable, get a nice hot drink, and we'll get started here momentarily. All right, first things first, we're gonna take a look at our album artwork. Now, producer Ian, he actually is a fan of Opeth, and he said that this kind of reminded him of the ending of The Shining, and I might have to agree. It's a little ominous, a little spooky even. And on the back, we have the guys looking very dapper, and in here as well. Now, we didn't bring the actual vinyl out here to weather the elements with us, but they're very nice blue vinyl. So we have the 5 members of Opeth in tow for this album, along with several guests, some of who have cemented their legacies in rock history, and they even have an orchestra joining in, which won't come as a surprise once you know what this album is actually about. The title, The Last Will and Testament, already hints at where this narrative is going. You'll notice that the track titles are actually just numbers corresponding to different paragraphs of the titular document. So in this story that Opeth has chosen to tell, a period piece of sorts, think 1920s, the father of a great household has passed away, and now 2 twin brothers and their sickly sister are about to get their respective worlds rocked by the many revelations of this will. Right away, I'm drawn in by the premise and the setting alike. It's definitely something that could inspire a fun song or two, so I'll go right ahead and say it. Opeth does a pretty remarkable job bringing this story to life. And by that I mean that the soundscape that they've constructed on this record puts us right in that post-Great War setting. I do believe that their bass sound, or at least the little Opeth that I am familiar with, it already lends itself fairly well to a project such as this, but it's everything that I don't necessarily associate with Opeth or even metal as a whole that really helps convey the story and make it as vivid to our minds as possible. A broad palette of styles that all make sense within that early 20th century context, from light touches of jazz to gospel organs. And then some portions definitely sound more folk and decidedly Scandinavian. And this is the kind of stuff that I do recognize from Opeth's past work. And of course, like any good prog band, they owe a debt to King Crimson, and the influence didn't escape me on this album. So something that has certainly appealed to me in listening to this record is the amount of variety in the content therein, which I take as a good sign that the album's concept approach is not a mere gimmick, but an opportunity to broaden that palette and explore new sound combinations. Yes, the album has a more than generous helping of strings, organs, and the like, but even the metal, meat and potatoes they're far from being samey. On one hand, there are the traditional metal riffs and chord structures, along with soaring guitar leads and colors, but then we also have the more proggy and math side of things, which by nature of being more esoteric, I find to be more intriguing whenever it does appear. So Opeth is pulling from all these different wells, and the final product is something that is both rich and cohesive, especially as some of the songs drift from one movement to another. The album does a great job of holding our interest. The different facets of The Last Will and Testament are all very well balanced, and nothing really sticks out like a sore thumb, but to me, the band starts to get the most experimental somewhere around paragraph 4. I've listened to the album at least 5 or 6 times over the week, and to me, this is the point of the album where I'm really getting into it. When I first heard that flute in the introduction, provided by none other than Jethro Tull and Anderson, it was at that point where I was like, all right, this is more than just a metal album with a string section. And from there, we're treated with one surprise after another, really. Paragraph 5 probably has been the early favorite for me for several reasons. Large portions of the song have scintillating, like a Middle Eastern passage where the band enthusiastically plays along to the lively string section. And the track pushes and pulls us in various directions, much like Mikhail's own back and forth between his pristine singing voice and his guttural death growling. We're treated to some of the biggest and baddest riffs on the entire record, and by the end of the song, we've already been to death metal cloud 9. But obviously, track 5 isn't the only song where the band demonstrates their creativity. Every track is a small handful of big moments that are worth revisiting time and again, like the frenzied introduction to paragraph 3, the earth-crushing breakdown of 6, or the theatrical delivery of the vocals in paragraph 4. And if you, like me, aren't fluent in death growl, just give it time. You'll be able to piece together the story by the second or third listen. It's not a tough album to invest time into, especially considering how brief it is by metal standards. The final entry of The Last Will and Testament is the only song with an actual title. It's called A Story Never Told, a rather poignant number featuring some ominous piano sandwiched between a gentle picking-style electric guitar at the introduction, and then a lengthy face-melting metal solo to close out the record in a most suitable fashion. Being as graceful and classically influenced as A Story Never Told is, it's hard to ignore the impressive range that Opeth is often demonstrating at the drop of a hat. Mikhail Akerfeld's Jekyll and Hyde vocal approach alone is impressive to witness, considering how he largely excels in both his singing and his screaming. Producer Ian tells me that this is the first time in several years that Opeth has utilized the screaming, and I'm surprised considering how great of an asset it is to this album. I'm sure they found other ways to amuse us, but this is where the band's skill set is only enhanced by their creative versatility. Not to sound like a broken record, but I can't emphasize enough how fantastic of a job Opeth did in unifying all of these various styles of music and making them sound like they truly belong together, and not to mention making them make sense with the album's narrative. A lot of that can be accredited to the great technical ability of the performers. The band plays extremely tight, practically flawless, which makes their excellent choices in tone and texture even more apparent. From a production standpoint, everything sounds warm and crisp, but there is a purity to their craft as well. The character of the guitar doesn't sound the slightest bit compromised, and I can appreciate how much room is left in the mix for the bass to operate as well, not only giving the guitars the boost they need, but allowing enough freedom to shine whenever those opportunities do present themselves. And none of those extra embellishments distract or outshine the heavy metal foundation of this album, which is obviously the right choice. It all makes for a quality, thoroughly immersive listening experience that works on so many different levels. Again, I can't speak for a single Opeth fan out there, but as a total outsider, I can honestly tell you that I had a really nice time with this album, and I think it's definitely worth checking out. So be sure to do that. Those are mostly my thoughts. I'll leave you with a few closing words and send you on your merry way. So what more can I say? I really enjoy this album. It's certainly a full experience and one that cleverly finds ways to set itself apart from anything else out there. When you're making a concept record, I imagine there are a lot of things to consider that aren't a normal part of one's creative process, and the project has to work on multiple levels. Well, I think Opeth succeeded in their efforts, and unequivocally so. Their decades of expertise are on full display, and it's cool to see them take on a fun experiment with such enthusiasm at this point in their career. The Last Will and Testament is an album that I'm happy to recommend, and I applaud Opeth for a job well done. I should also mention that it makes for a perfect fall listening. It's got those darker, earthy, colder seasonal sounds that are just what I'm looking for at this time of year. So, if I were to give The Last Will and Testament a score on a scale from 1 to 10, I think I would go with an 8. It's one that I can easily see myself going back to every fall. So those are my thoughts. What did y'all think of this one? I'd love to hear your thoughts on the record. and or on Opeth in general. What's your favorite track? How does this compare to the band's other records? Feel free to let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you enjoy this video, please hit that like button, and while you're down there, you may as well hit the subscribe button, right? I mean, why not? It's for your own good after all. So anyway, it's getting pretty cold out here, so I'm gonna go home. Next time you see me, I'll probably be back over there at the Vinyl Brotherhood, ready to bring you another review or something along those lines. So I'll catch you later. Take care, folks, and stay warm.